So just before 9:30 this morning, 3 King County Sheriff's detectives were serving an eviction notice here in Ballard. When they initially made contact at the residence, there was gunfire that was exchanged. One of the deputies was struck, and there was... I'm sorry, we're going to try that again. One of the deputies was struck in the initial gunfire. The subject then retreated back into the residence. While they are rendering aid to that detective, the sheriff's deputy, they later found out that the individual inside was deceased. And so at this point in time, we have the IFIT investigative team that is responding to process the scene, to talk to everybody involved. The sheriff's deputy that was transferred to Harborview Medical Center is still in surgery at this time, but he is in stable condition.
Stable or critical?
Stable.
Stable.
He's in stable condition, and from what we were told, he was in fairly good spirits when he got to the hospital. So he was communicative. They did take him into surgery, and at this point, we're waiting for him to get out of surgery.
Now, who fired first?
So at this point, we're trying to determine exactly who fired first. So the process that happens in one of these investigative situations is the incident happens when there is a law enforcement official that is involved in the shooting, and they lock down the scene immediately. They take the individuals who are involved and they separate them, and then they wait until they can be interviewed separately. And so that's where we are at this point. The investigative team is made up of 11 to 13 different agencies, and so different detectives from all the different agencies will converge on the scene or around the scene, and then they spread out. So the process is lengthy, and it does take some time, and we're really in the very early stages of this investigation.
Is it your belief that it was a sheriff's department bullet that killed the person who was being evicted, or something else?
At this point in time, it's too early to tell. We are very early on in the investigation, and we just don't know yet.
Do we know what condition we found them in? The suspect that was held up and barricaded in?
The suspect was deceased.
Do we know if anyone shot any of the law enforcement agencies use their weapons at all?
Yes. The 2 King County Sheriff's detectives did fire their weapons.
And was this the first eviction notice? We had heard that they knew that they were going to be evicted, or that there was some process going in place.
According to the King County Sheriff's office, the investigation into this situation began back in January, and this was the final notification.
And was there any violent interactions in the past? Or?
I don't know.
Can you explain just the eviction process a little bit, when a King County deputy would show up to eviction?
So King County has a very intricate, detailed process for evictions. It is a civil portion of the King County Sheriff's Office, and for information upon how that is carried out, you're going to have to talk to the King County Sheriff's Office.
Now, if this connection is accurate, there's a woman that's been out here talking about a friend who knew she was going to be evicted, and there was obviously a lot of anxiety surrounding that. Is your suspect a woman, and had there been, again, any ongoing dialogue, I guess probably between the landlord, but what about the Sheriff's Department? I mean, you have a warning process.
So the subject of the eviction is a 29-year-old male, and that's all we know.
29-year-old male.
Male.
Okay. So a shooting is possible. That's how the suspect ended up dead, or a suicide? Or what are we talking about here? What are the possibilities?
That's what we are investigating right now. We are trying to figure out what happened. The subject regressed back into the residence at the time. When officers were able to make entry into the residence, they found the individual deceased. So again, we have to go back through and figure out how many bullets were fired from which guns and where, and then they have to process that and figure out, okay, how did that happen? But we're in the very beginning stages of this investigation, so we're still trying to figure that out.
Were there any witnesses or cameras, or what are investigators looking through right now? Who are they talking to?
So they're trying to find anyone and everyone. So if there was anyone at the scene or nearby that did see anything, or if you do have home surveillance cameras, please reach out to the King County IFIT investigative team. You can contact the Bellevue Police Department or Kirkland Police Departments in particular and share that information, because they would definitely be interested in having that.
Can we circle back to the very beginning here? You say that the deputies walked up, Did they knock on the door? At what point did this become a shootout, for lack of a better word?
So what I was told from the preliminary investigation is that the detectives with the King County Sheriff's Civil Division was approaching this unit to serve an eviction notice. On initial contact, there was gunfire exchanged. At this point in time, we're trying to figure out who shot first and what happened, and that's why the detectives are on scene processing the scene right now.
Would this have been a forcible removal, today's order with 3 deputies?
I don't know. It is standard procedure for them to have 2 or 3 deputies that attend these civil proceedings.
But we know that 2 deputies shot.
I'm sorry, but
We had heard them on the loudspeaker trying to speak to the subject. Did you ever get any response from the subject at all?
that I don't know.
Was there anybody else inside the subject's apartment?
Not that I'm aware of.
And I'm sorry, she asked this question, but
Yeah, follow up to her question. You know that 2 deputies did shoot bullets.
Yes.
What is the time frame from when the officer was shot and when the person was found deceased?
I don't have the exact time frame on that. I do know that we were notified of the shooting about an hour and a half after it happened. And at that point in time, they had not located the subject inside yet. So it's a rough within 2 hours. So they're going to try and talk this person to come out of the home. And when that didn't happen and they had reason to believe they could go in, they did.
can you talk at all, did they describe at all how the barricade, what was the barricade situation? How was the door blocked at all?
Yep, they did.
There's a pretty stunning photo of officers carrying what appears to be the officer. Any indication whether those other officers saved his life doing that and bringing him the way that they did?
So what I can tell you is that the deputy was shot. All 3 of the detectives, the deputies, were wearing their ballistic vests, as is protocol. The deputy that was injured was shot in the upper torso where the bullet somehow missed the vest, and it was a entrance and exit wound. And so it's hard to tell. Obviously, that is not something that you want left to go untreated. So as soon as they could get him aid, obviously they did. So it was, a very traumatic situation for all of them.
So did they take him to the hospital, or did you wait on
No.
an ambulance?
Yeah, went by ambulance.
And I'm so sorry, so deputies, the shooting happens, and then SPD comes and joins.
Yes, because
They're the ones who actually end up breaching the cycle.
yeah, no. So they, the deputies again are the civil arm of the King County Sheriff's Department, and so they go to serve the eviction notice. And when there are shots fired, there's a distress call that goes out, and Seattle PD responded immediately. So then county and Seattle will work together until that scene is secured. And then IFIT takes over the investigation of the shooting.
What's the status of the 3 deputies? Obviously, you've got one in the hospital. The other 2, are they off duty? Or?
So the other 2 deputies right now are actually with our IFIT investigators, and then they will be placed on administrative leave, which is protocol for the King County Sheriff's Department.
And the turnaround time on an investigation from your end is?
It varies tremendously. It depends on the process, the scene. Some have taken 9 months, and some are done within 2 months. So it's just really hard to see. We have a lot of people on this scene, and so they are going to work meticulously and judiciously to try and get a resolution to this.
If the resident had left peacefully, what would typically happen then? Would all their belongings be thrown out? What would happen to all their things? And would they just go wherever they go? Any resources offered, anything like that?
So I am not familiar with what the King County Sheriff's Department's eviction process is, so you'll have to check with them.
Meeghan, we've been led to believe that your 29-year-old man is actually a transgender person. Is there any truth to that?
I have no idea.
I actually knew the person. They are trans, and I ask that they don't be dead named. Thank you.
And was it SPD or the sheriff's office that actually discovered the person?
I don't know.
Can you tell us where and how many times the deputy was shot?
Once. In the upper torso.
And it went through, you're saying?
Yeah.
And what's the current condition?
Stable.
Stable, okay.
In that initial gunfire, do we know if those other detectives had the opportunity to fire back?
So what I know is that there was an exchange of gunfire and that 2 deputies discharged their service weapons.
And those 2 sorry, were there 3 deputies on scene or 2?
3.
3. And 2 of them discharged?
2 of them discharged their weapons and 1 of them was struck.
Okay. And we don't know we don't know like the overlap of those.
So at this point in time, we're trying to figure out who shot first, how it unfolded. So that's why the detectives are on scene to help process that scene and interview everyone involved.
And do you know what time the eviction notice was being served?
The call came in about 9:20.
And that was for the officer
The
who
shooting.
shot? Okay.
Any information on the deputy that's in the hospital, age, how long been on the force?
So I don't have his age, but I can tell you that the injured deputy has been with the King County Sheriff's Department for 25 years. The injured deputy was 25 years with the King County Sheriff's Department, and the 2 other deputies that were involved were 23 and 26 years with the department.
So experienced.
Yes.
And do we know of the 3 deputies who responded and the 2 that shot was one of the people who discharged their weapon, the person who is also in the hospital right now?
No, the deputy that is in the hospital did not discharge his weapon.
And
Is there any idea yet on what gave the suspect the opportunity to regress back into the apartment after that initial gunfire?
Just went back inside.
And was a weapon recovered from inside the house?
They're on the scene right now. So they have to get a search warrant in order to enter the process. It takes time to process all of this stuff.
And so there's no details on what exactly constituted a barricade, and then also no idea right now who shot first.
Right.
Okay.